giant golden pineapple has appeared in the middle of Cambridge. Why, you might ask? Well, it's to herald a celebration of the fruit, marking 300 years since it was first grown in the UK. There's an exhibition and a 2-day conference. Well, we're joined by two big fans of the pineapple who are speaking there. The conference is called Power, Promise, Politics, the Pineapple from Columbus to Del Monte. So Rebecca Earle, Professor of Food History at the University of Warwick, joins us from Cambridge, alongside Ivan Day, the independent food historian. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Ivan, tell us first of all about the kind of huge excitement when the pineapple finally arrived on these shores and the competition to grow it.
Well, it became a hobby basically for landowners and aristocrats who just loved to boast about the amount of money they had spent on cultivating this tropical fruit. So it became a kind of holy grail of hobby growers of pineapples. And they had hothouses which they forced the fruit along, often starting off with little baby ones, which originally came from the Caribbean and then from Holland.
And Rebecca, poetic descriptions of the pineapple and pineapples in art became popular early on.
That's right. Pineapples were part of the earliest European fantasies about the tropics. And so from the moment Europeans arrived in the Caribbean, they sent back rhapsodic accounts of this king of fruits, which was like a combination of peaches and plums and grapes and pears and everything delightful with a little bit of rosewater. They were absolutely enamored of this new fruit.
And Ivan, very difficult to cultivate, though.
Extremely difficult. You had to grow it in a hothouse. You had to spend quite a lot of money on having that constructed. Big wages for an expert gardener who knew how to cultivate it. But having one on your table, in front of your aristocratic friends was a big moment. And of course, the general public could experience it too, because they were prepared in various ways, particularly ice cream was made from them in the London confectionery shops, and often they even made the ice cream in the shape of a pineapple.
And Rebecca, you talked about their exoticism, and there's also the association with sex, wasn't there? I was looking up, doing a bit of research this morning, and I was looking up love of pineapples, and I came across some quite dodgy websites, including ones about swingers.
Well, I can't comment on that, but it's certainly true that these associations between sweet, syrupy, luscious tropical fruits that Europeans were so captivated by bled over onto colonial ideas about the people who inhabited these spaces. So Europeans in the Caribbean and Latin America, also in the East Indies, associated this delicious, alluring tropical fruits with particularly the women, who became then part of the commodities that Europeans thought belonged to them as a result of colonialism. So the bodies of women and the bodies of these fruits merged together to some degree.
And I suppose we think particularly, don't we, of Carmen Miranda and those fabulous headdresses.
Exactly. She was the absolute epitome of this process. Quite sexy, unusual, exotic, in the end quite safe, because she was a 20th century phenomenon, and she was also part of the rise of the tourist industry, where tourist agencies were trying to encourage people to go to the tropics, and they wanted to sell the Caribbean or Hawaii as an exciting, exotic place, but one that was ultimately safe.
And Ivan, exotic recipes as well.
Yeah, there were lots of exotic recipes, particularly in the 19th century. At the end of the 19th century, they're starting to use canned pineapple, which means that very ordinary people can experience this, rather than the aristocrats who were growing them on their estates. The problem with pineapples was that they didn't ship very well in the early period. They would go off halfway across the Atlantic, and that's why people were forced to grow them. There's one great pineapple hero of mine, a forgotten cookery writer called Theodore Garrett, who in the 1890s published a huge book which has got 71 ways in which to cook and prepare a pineapple, including some wonderful drinks. There's an extraordinary drink called pineapple shrub, which was made by steeping the pineapples in syrup and rum, and then serving it as a proto-cocktail, if you like, by adding iced water to it.
Oh, you're making me quite thirsty now. Head off for a pina colada with Michelle after the programme. Rebecca Earle, Ivan Day, thank you both.
I'm with you on that.